Hello, my name is Hannah Philpott, and I'm completing this project as a part of my SEC 352 course at Western Kentucky University. This is our textbook analysis and our first critical performance. Just as the textbook overview of the one that I am looking at in particular, this book is called Skills for Living. It is meant for a secondary education course, and it is also meant for family and consumer science education courses. It was written in 2008 by a FACS Ed teacher. She was a teacher for 32 years, and she suggested that this textbook be used for relationships, parenting, child development 1, food science 1, fashion interior design 1, and our life skills courses. So it's got a wide range of courses that you can use this particular textbook for. For the purpose of this project, I will be focusing on a relationship course. So, does this book meet national standards? Yes, it does. The three standards that I'm looking at are 13.1, 13.3, and 13.6 of the National FACS Ed standards for a relationships course. So, the first standard is analyze functions and expectations of various types of relationships. This book does do that, and actually it has several pages on it, as you can see right there. The first one is types of relationships. On pages 123 through 126, there are subsections including parenting, sibling, teachers, romantic relationships, and work relationships. All of these sections describe different types of relationships and expectations for each. Your point of view in each of these relationships is going to differ greatly. The expectation for relationships of your parents is not going to be the same as that of a romantic relationship. This textbook explains to you how to better understand the needs of people you are in relationships with based on your differing point of view. Then we go down to the second standard. Demonstrates communication skills that contribute to positive relationships. This is done on pages 128 and 129, and it talks about the quality needed for positive relationships. In these sections, it explains about openness, reliability, and forming friendships in relation to creating positive relationships with others. The information given in these sections are essential for students in my future classes. This chapter is full of tips and information on how to build up great relationships. Students don't always understand that it takes a lot of hard work to create and maintain good relationships. They need this information in order to build positive relationships and experiences with others. Then we go down to the last standard, 13.6. Demonstrate standards that guide behavior in interpersonal relationships. This is also shown on page 123 through 143, and that's actually the entire chapter. The name of this particular chapter is called Personal Relationships, so it goes without saying that this standard is going to be covered. The purpose of this chapter and the relationship course in general is to gain knowledge that helps guide behaviors in interpersonal relationships. This is a major life skill that is necessary for all students and is a driving force in the purpose of this course. The next thing I examined on this textbook is to see if there were certain diversity dimensions that were covered in order to make it appropriate for my classes. The first question I asked is what percentage of ethnic groups are displayed in pictures throughout the chapter. So, as you can see, the first pie chart on your right is representative of the images in the chapter. There were 43 people pictured total, and of those 43 pictured, 60.47% were Caucasian, 20.9% were African American, 11.63% were Hispanic, and 7.0% were Asian. I didn't include any other different ethnic groups because they weren't represented in that chapter. Then what I did is I compared those percentages to the ethnic diversity in the United States during the time period that the book was published, so in 2008. In 2008, 72.4% were Caucasian, 12.6% were African American, 10.2% were Hispanic, and 4.8% were Asian. So from this data, I can conclude that the author of the book was most likely conscious of which images she was including due to the fact that Caucasian people were underrepresented, and all other ethnic groups were overrepresented. Although the diversity in the images is not 100% accurate with that of the time period, it is close enough to make a significant difference on my decision in using this textbook or not. I would rather have the minority groups overrepresented to make sure that those students do not feel isolated in my classroom. Based on the data I collected in this portion of the diversity questions, I think that this textbook will be acceptable for my future classroom. The next question I asked was related to gender bias. The question is, what is the ratio of men to women pictured in this book? As you can tell, that these statistics are obviously skewed. The male to female ratio should be 1-to-1, or 50% female and 50% male. This is an ongoing issue in Facts Ed courses. Usually, we only see skewed statistics like this whenever we're talking about enrollment in classes. There is usually a smaller male population in courses like Fashion and Interior Design, Food Sciences, Child Development, and Parenting, but this is not the case in relationship courses. There is usually an even mix of male to female. For that reason, I am questioning the acceptability of this aspect of the textbook. If Facts courses are already having an issue with being a male-dominant content area, I should not be fueling the fire. I do not want my male students in my courses to feel isolated. I want this textbook to encourage the male population in my Facts courses. The third question I asked was related to age. What percentage of pictures displayed in the text are of children, teenagers, and adults? Whenever I looked in the book, like I said before, there was 43 people pictured total. 5 of them were children, 17 of them were teens, and 21 of them were adults. I will be teaching in a high school class, so my students' age will range from late teen to young adult. With this information, I think that this textbook will be appropriate for my classroom. While all the ages are represented like they are in real life, the fact that the images are mostly of teens and adults makes this textbook relatable to my students. The last thing I did in relation to this textbook was determine its readability level. I used the Lexile measurement tool to score the readability level. The textbook scored a 1335L, meaning that it ranges at the end of the 9th and 10th grade grading scale. This is perfect for the age of students I will be teaching. Like I mentioned before, the author introduced this book as a useful tool for many of the introductory courses. Most of the introductory courses are the ones that will be learning the entry-level information on all of the major courses in my content area. Therefore, mostly freshmen and sophomores will be using this book. In conclusion, I will use Skills for Life in my future classroom. Overall, it meets all of the requirements and also touches on several different course content areas, so that would also make it a great buy and a way to save money in my future classroom.